Brittany stands before you on the, what day? The 15th of July at beautiful UCLA in Los Angeles, where it's sunny and beautiful. And she's about to communicate 3 emotions that she felt watching a film. She's managing attention, communicating respect non-verbally, saying to herself, I respect my audience. He's reading, so clear your voice for him so he looks up. Finding friendly eyes near the front and the center. Say your name. Feel the love. Start your speech.
Hi everyone, my name is Brittany.
Hi Brittany.
Suddenly a room that was once brightly lit up turns pitch black, and all your problems simply go away as your attention is focused on the screen in front of you. Throughout this... Oh, can I start over? I'm sorry.
Just keep going. Keep it going. You're fine.
No, because it's going to go over time.
You're fine. Keep going. Okay, just start over.
Suddenly, a room that was once brightly lit up turns pitch black as all your attention is focused on the screen in front of you. I personally love watching movies. I love being able to sit back with popcorn and soda and just relax and sit back when all my problems and emotions just simply disappear, and I just get to put myself in a character's shoes so I can get a better understanding of the story and the world around me. Today there has been countless of films released, but there's one film I feel mostly connected to, and this film is the Titanic. The Titanic takes place in the year 1912. It's a woman's epic love story on the world's largest luxury ship, famously named the Titanic. Though I felt so much throughout this film, I mostly felt courageous, optimistic, and hopeful. The incident in this film that made me feel courageous is when the protagonist, Jack Dawson, and Rose Bucketeer dined with Rose's family for the first time. These 2 characters were brought up in 2 different class systems. Jack never had a few nickels to his own name, and Rose is from a very wealthy family. When Rose invited Jack to dinner, she was aware of the social stigma. When she invited him to dinner, she was aware that he wasn't from the same elite group that she was. For this dinner, he even had to borrow a tuxedo. And when he approached the dinner table, it was immediately evident to everyone that he wasn't part of their world. When he sat down, he realized that there were so many forks and knives on the napkins, and he didn't know why there were so many, and he didn't even know what all the different kinds of foods were called. However, Jack just distanced himself from all the rude and snobby gossip and stayed true to himself. Rose didn't care that he was poor. She actually envied his freedom because she never got to experience it herself. This shows how courageous Jack was to be able to put himself into Rose's world just for a few short hours. I relate to this part of the film when I moved from New York to West Palm Beach, Florida when I was 8 years old. I was forced to start at a brand new school that was far different from my public elementary school back in New York. This new school was called the Meyer Academy. It was a Jewish private school, and for the past 3 years, all the students have already been friends and have been studying the Hebrew language. I've never personally felt as lonely or left behind in my life. And because even of my strong New York accent, the kids even tease me about the way I asked to go to the bathroom. However, I just had to stay strong and courageous. And eventually, the kids started to accept me for who I was and where I was from. The second way this movie moved me is that it made me feel optimistic. The incident in this film that made me feel optimistic is when Rose's mother, Ruth Bucketeer, tells Rose to shun Jack out of her life because he wasn't as rich as she was. So Rose has to explain to Jack that she can no longer see him anymore. But Jack is determined not to give up. Jack tries to explain to Rose how money isn't everything. And eventually, Rose decides to take Jack's side because he was being such an optimist. And the 2 began to fall in love. I relate to this part of the film when I was optimistic about joining my first competitive all-star cheer team. On this team, the girls have already been cheering for the past 3 to 4 years, whereas this was my first year. I did make the team, but the coach was a little concerned for me because it was my first year, so she ended up putting me in the back of the routine. I started to develop stunting and tumbling skills, whereas the other athletes on the team developed within years. The coach saw how optimistic I was, and she ended up putting me in the front of the routine. The third way this movie moved me is that it made me feel hopeful. The incident in this movie that made me feel hopeful is after the Titanic sunk, and there weren't enough lifeboats to save everyone. All the remaining people on the ship fell into the freezing cold water. And hours after the initial panic, one little lifeboat came back. But it was too late. Mostly everyone has frozen to death, except for Rose and a few others. Unfortunately, Jack didn't make it. But Rose never forgot about Jack. Jack changed Rose's perspective in life and showed her that life can be lived simply. I relate to this part of the film. When I took my first driving test, I remember how nervous and anxious I felt. I was so unprepared, and when the driving proctor told me to perform a 3-point turn, I actually drove up a little bit too far and I hit the grass, and I immediately failed. For a whole year, I could not wait to get my driver's license, to have the freedom to just roam and drive around as I pleased. Just like that, it was gone. That night, I was so angry. I could not leave my bedroom. But eventually, I had to eat dinner. So when I went downstairs, my mom was explaining to me how her first driving test, she failed, but the second time, she passed. And I began to feel hopeful again. So that night, I practiced for another 3 hours. And the next morning, when I took the test again at 9 a.m., I finally heard the words, "You passed!" So, in summary, this is such a memorable film because of its rich storyline and the passion and emotion the characters portrayed throughout the film. This film has made me feel courageous, optimistic, and hopeful. And for a short time, I was able to forget my own worries and just live through the film. This movie has played such a huge role in my life, and I will never forget the first time I watched the Titanic. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, where are we? Thank you. Thank you for, I couldn't keep up with you, so I let someone else move the camera. So that's the first thing. We want to move purposefully 3 times, okay?
Okay.
You were pacing. I was getting dizzy. Where are we? Are we in the front row? We're here. Good.
Hi, my name is Tao.
Hi, Tao.
Follow the structure really well, and you give like 3 feelings. That's fine.
Improvement.
Hi, my name is Matt.
Hi, Matt.
I'm kind of confused as to why you had to restart in the beginning, because I think you should have, like before you start a speech, take a moment to think about how you're going to start, like what's the first thing you're going to say. And also you talked about like how you had this like time issue, and I think one thing about your speech was that you had your proportion to like summary of Titanic to your stories was like really like not in
Disproportionate.
Yeah, disproportionate. Yes. And I think we want to hear more about your story and less about the Titanic, because especially with Titanic, it's a movie that almost everyone knows about. So if you can just like summarize it to like 1 or 2 quick points and then go into your story, that would be more effective.
What was the time? 5:50. Yeah, you went overtime. Brittany, yeah. Well, let me start with the positive. I love your energy and enthusiasm. And when you described passing your driving test and the freedom, you were at your best. Okay? So that was good, and when you see yourself tonight on YouTube, you will see that you were at your best there. Now, don't ever start a speech over again, and don't say, "Can I start over?" There's a cliche, you only get one chance to make a good first impression, so practice your intro a lot until you can do it in your sleep. Tell me what you would classify your intro as. Was it a poem, a quote, a story, a joke, a story? It was a story about you, about how you like to settle down in a chair with popcorn and get lost in movies, right? That was great. Perfectly fine. You know, we all like to sit down and watch a good movie, and if it's a great movie, we get swept away, which is why I hate people that talk in movies and break the spell and that sort of thing. However, when I was looking for the popcorn and the you settling back and unfolding and fade away and getting into the characters, I didn't get the same vivid tie back that you started with. See, I didn't get that feeling of bookends. So I want to see next time you start with a poem, a quote, or a story that I really see you're coming back to more clearly. Okay, bookends. Do you understand that?
And I did say, like, I'm able to forget my own worries and live through the film. That's kind of a tie back to the
Kind of a tie back, but make it more vivid, okay?
So I should have repeated, like, the popcorn.
Repeat the popcorn, repeat the most vivid image, the way that, you know, she repeated Nabokov and the actual quote again, you know, that sort of thing, yeah. That really tells us you're coming back. Now, also, it would really help you if you didn't put this in big, long paragraphs, but you put it in the outline form. So I'm going to suggest that to everyone. Put it in the 7-part outline form. Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah, that.
Yeah, with 1 through 7, and you don't have these long paragraphs. It's easier to remember, and it's just easier to work from. Now, let me echo what he said. You spent a whole heck of a lot of time detailing the plot line of the movie, which we've all seen. Wasn't necessary. Would rather we knew it all. We knew what happened, and we didn't need it. We needed to hear your story and your emotion. Just a quick enough setup to get to you. Your first one in particular, time it tonight, and you're going to see it was real long, your first plot summary. Okay? Now, let's get to your first story. You finally said, I related to this part of the movie because when I moved from New York to Palm Beach, right? I was just 8 years old, and I was forced to start a brand new school that was entirely unlike my public school. The Meyer Academy was a Jewish private school where everyone had already made friends. I never felt so lonely, and I was the farthest behind academically. My strong New York Amish saw his kids tease me and make fun of me. I would ask to go to the bathroom. Fun of the way I asked to go to the bathroom. I had to be strong and courageous and believe in my peers who accepted me. It would have been helpful if you returned to the emotion that you were communicating in, and that's why I felt this way, right? And I would the fact that you were sort of bullied and picked on and made fun of, that's where we get you remember how bad you felt, re-feel it, and communicate that feeling. Okay? And I didn't get that so much. I empathize with the words you said, but I didn't get you reliving it. Okay? Maybe you did, but I didn't get it. On your second one, of feeling optimistic, you talked about being on, again, a long plot summary, and then you talked about being on the cheer team and being put in the back row and working your butt off and getting to the front row and feeling optimistic at that. Again, return to the emotion, and that's what made me feel optimistic that my hard work had paid off, and I was able to. My hard work paid off, and I felt optimistic about that. Moved just 3 times, and what I'd suggest, by the way, Brittany, is that when you practice at home with a live person, with your mother, your brother, your lover, or a homeless guy, you actually just tell them, my goal is to move just 3 times. And if you start to pace, tell them to have you stop. Because you're a pacer, okay? You move just in the main body. First way the film moved me was it made me. Second way the film moved me, and come back to the center for the final way the film moved me. Okay, and then on the final way, the film movie, was that you felt hopeful, and this was where you were at your best. You gave us again a long plot summary and told us about your driving test, and it was good details, and you told us how bad you felt when the guy failed you, and you were depressed, you wouldn't come out of your room, you were sad, but your mother said, hey, I failed it too. And so that gave you hope, and you practiced, and you passed, and you were happy. Yay, I have liberty and freedom, which is what people in Iraq are fighting for, so you have it here, right? Yeah. Okay, so your summary, your conclusion were good. I just didn't get a real vivid tie back like I usually like. Your goals were good eye contact, good communication of emotion, and walk to both sides of the room. Well, I'll say this. You did walk to both sides of the room, didn't she? Yes, she did. A couple of times. Maybe too many times. How'd it go?
Okay. So when I was practicing...
Come a little forward. Don't ever stand right against the wall. It looks like you're afraid of your audience. Yeah. Okay.
When I was saying my speech, I just remembered to walk back to both sides of the room because I normally just walk to the left side. I don't go to the right side for some reason.
Yeah.
So I guess I just did too much. The eye contact, I don't remember looking at the wall. I feel like I looked at all of you. And emotion, I communicated emotion more than I normally do.
More than you normally do. Yeah. Okay. Well, we need to do even more. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Okay, do we have another volunteer? Yay, okay. Okay. Yeah?
I'm not sure if we have enough time.
Oh, we don't have enough time. What time is it?
It's 43, so we only have 7 minutes.
Yeah, we only have 7 minutes. So, sorry, big guy. So sorry. Let me just say a few words in the remaining minutes. How's everyone's PC coming along? Does everyone understand the assignment? Have you watched other PCs? Some of you were absent and didn't get to see the PC I showed. It's online under Thomas Miller Model Film Speeches. And there are tons of PC speeches for you to get the idea. What I'm after is you share, thank you for the roll sheet, is that you share something that's personal about yourself that you normally don't share. And you saw the example of what the girl in the film, in the PC speech shared, right? About her life and her boyfriend and all that stuff. So that was good. And she was PC, her boyfriend that wouldn't let her, have boyfriends, other boyfriends and stuff like that. So is anybody having trouble finding a topic or everyone's got a good topic for their PC? And if you're really stuck, go to that thing on the website or come and talk to me or email me. Okay? Our work is done. Return with honor. Thank you for helping me notice the time. I would have just kept going. We have green on the camera left.
May I get that?
Yes, you can, Mr. Joseph. Here, let me stable it together for you. How about that? Yeah. Yes.
For the facilitated speech,
What?
for the last speech, the final speech,
Yes.
you need to find the resource, right?
What?
If I get the resource from the government website, does it count as
Deep internet? Yeah.
it's from the government website?
Yeah.
Another question, for this reason, is that we need one code from the journal
Yeah.
and one statistic from the newspaper or
Yeah.
the government website and one personal story.
Yeah.
So totally would need 2 codes from evidence, 2 statistics, and 2 personal story.
Right.
for the total.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to point that out because a lot of people don't think that personal stories can be evidence, and they can be. Because our experience is evidence. You learned that you needed more practice when you were learning to drive. You needed to not drive up on the sidewalk and drive up on the grass or whatever you did, right? Yeah.
I just have a question.
Yes.
There's like the grade. We find out our grades at the end, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I just
Or you can email me
oh.
if you want to know too. Yeah. Okay.
I have a question about grades.
Yes.
Will we find out what we got for each speech? Or will we find out the overall?
Find out for each speech. Just email me.
Oh, okay. And then my other question was for the made to stick final.
Yes.
Because you told us to make the paragraphs into examples, and I did
Yeah.
that. But I have a paragraph where I talk about the general idea and try to